What's up? It's your boy Sean P back again with another edition of Hip Hop Roundtable Reviews. So tonight, we're getting back to another review. I've mentioned this before in my previous videos that I was going to get to this. So I'm finally got around to reviewing De La Soul's Cabin in the Sky, which is another one of Nas's Seven Legends series albums from the legendary group De La Soul. It's gotten a lot of talk in the hip hop blogs and hip hop groups on social media. There is buzz around there as one of the top projects of this year, which I'll get to, once we get to our reviews or what have you. But it's a refreshing album. I'll just say that it's a refreshing album. Um, but I'll give you my take as to if it stacks up as the best projects of the year. So, with a little background before we get to our overall review of the album, De La Soul is a legendary hip hop group. They came up in the late 80s in the Native Tongues crew, which was, I believe, Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, and uh, the legendary of all legendary Tribe Called Quest. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out. I think Moni Love was also part of that crew as well. And they brought a different perspective to hip hop at that time. They brought more of a lighthearted storytelling, more conscious aspect to hip hop that was more relatable. Um, you can hear the native tongue influence in a lot of the emo rappers later on that came about, especially Kanye West. Kanye West gained a lot from Q-Tip and the native tongue movement, which they had an alternative hip hop spin of things. I mean, Lupe Fiasco was another one. Kanye. So they were not gangster rap, and they were not, the mainstream rap at the time. They were kind of their own type of subgenre, if you will, in the late 80s and early 90s. Now, De La Soul went on to have a lot of success in the late 80s, early 90s. They have a legendary song, Me, Myself, and I, which used an old school George Clinton sample, Parliament Funkadelic sample, and it was big. They were heavy on MTV at the time, which was MTV was the YouTube um, of music back in the early 90s or what have you. So they were pretty big. They had a pretty big following. Um, Unfortunately, I believe it was a couple years ago, they lost one of their members, Dave. Unfortunately, passed away. Passed away early. So now it's Maceo and Pontus or Pondanus. I always mix his name up. You know what I mean? But Posdanus, uh, who are the current members now. So they, they've won a Grammy before. I think they won a couple Grammys, if I'm not correct. Um, Podnanus is one of the a legendary lyricist in hip hop as well. So he's one of the best lyricists out there. I always felt that, and I'm not to slight them, I always thought that they were a little bit below a Tribe Called Quest. I believe it was probably about 5, 6 years ago now. I did a list in my hip hop group, Hip Hop Roundtable. Hip Hop Roundtable presents the review. That's my Facebook group that I base my channel off of. And I believe I ranked De La Soul in the top 15. I think number 15 or number 16. But Tribe is a top 5 group of all time. So to me, they've always been kind of a poor man's Tribe Called Quest. But legendary in their own right. So they definitely deserve their flowers as a great legendary hip hop group. So they joined on with Nas's Seven Legend series, which by now we have albums from Slick Rick, um, Ghostface, Raekwon, Big L, another posthumous album, Mobb Deep with a posthumous records from Prodigy. And am I leaving somebody out? I might be leaving out somebody that was in there. Slick Rick. I think that's all for now. And of course, um, this was the sixth one of that. Yeah, this was the sixth one of that, with the last album being Nas and DJ Premier coming up, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm going to do a preview for that album that's going to drop on December 12th. Anyway, so let's get to the review of this album, the long-awaited review. I'm actually going to use the Wikipedia this time because I want to get the production credits as well and see who did the beat to give credit where it's due. So, let's get the banners up as to what did I like. Okay. So, what did I like overall? I love the nostalgic vibe. This album had a 1999 Raucous Records feel to it. For those of you that are from the golden era of hip hop, Raucous Records was a great, if you want to call it non-mainstream or underground hip hop label back in the late 90s that gave birth to Black Star and some of the non-mainstream type artists of that era. I mean, a lot of legends came out of that. Of course, Mos Def, Black Star came out of that. DJ High Tech, Talib Kweli. Common wasn't signed to them, but Common did a lot of work with them. Even Eminem was on some of their tapes, on the Sound Bombing series back then. But as I digress, this has a late 90s feel to it, early 2000s. Great nostalgic feel that I like. I like the conscious theme on here. There's a lot of conscious themes of what goes on or what's going on in the community, in the hood or what have you. A lot of nice stories on here with a lot of dope metaphors where they use simple, almost nursery rhyme like themes to tell you stories of the modern day hood or what's going on. And I like that. Talk about relationships on here, some emo things. So I like the conscious theme on here. I do like the features. Of course, the standout record on here is Nas with Run It Back, but you also had features from Black Thought, from Killer Mike, a lot of A-list, top-tier, legendary MCs did their thing on here. Q-Tip, which I'll get to in a minute. So I did like that. I liked the production overall. I didn't love the production, but I liked the production on here. A lot of A-listers on here. DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Super Dave also produced on here. So the production was pretty good. You know what I mean? But there were some songs that kind of lacked a little bit of energy, which I'll get to what I didn't like. You know what I mean? So without further ado, let me get to what songs I did like. Let me blow this up a little bit. I don't know if you can see this too good. I don't want you to see a bunch of scribble on here. Where are we? All right. So, hold on a minute. Let me just check to see. All right, good. So you got it. Um, so what songs did I like? I liked how it started. The You Don't Stop. I love that the intro has a nice New York, uptown feel to it. With the horns in the background. I think that Podnews did his thing on here, or Paz the Noose did his thing on here. You know what I mean? And then I like Right in the Sunny Storms, which I think is a top level track on here. DJ Premier did his thing. Paz the Noose did his thing lyrically. It's probably a standout track I would think on there. Then I'll go into Good Health, which had a uh, um, Dave West, who unfortunately passed away, had a verse on there that he did that was posthumous. Posthumous verse on there was pretty good. So I do like that song. And I dig the soulful, the package. The package, which also had another posthumous verse as well from Dave. So those songs definitely stood out, and I like the start. The start had a catchy feel to it. You know what I mean? So that was very good. Um, Cruel Summers, Bring Fire to Life. I kind of didn't know where the song was going, but I like the beat switch up in there, and I like Positive News verse at the end. I like how that song ended. You know what I mean? I like the sampling in that song as well. They use a lot of early '80s, late '70s soul samples in there. I like the beat switch up in there, so that was pretty dope how they did that. Um, I like what was the one? Hold on. Yeah, and of course, Run It Back with Nas, which is a standout track on here. I already did a review on that song. Definitely check that out. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell me what you think about that review. And I definitely think Nas shined again as having a standout verse on this record, as he has on most of the Seven Legends series projects this year, if not all. He had the standout verse. Um, Different World, I like that. I like Pete Rock's sample on there. That was pretty good. Nice conscious theme. I think Patty Cake is a sleeper track on there. At first, I didn't really dig it because it had kind of a patty cake, baker's can. You know what I mean? Bake me a cake. You know the whole nursery rhyme theme, which I really wasn't feeling. But when you listen to the story in there and how they put that together and developed that song, they did a very good job with that. It's kind of dated. It's kind of got a dated feel to it, but again, this is more of a nostalgia feel on this album. So I would say that was a standout record. So I like that. Um, what was the other one? The Silent Life of Truth, another good story record there. DJ Premier did the beat. He did his thing on that one. And NF, you know what I mean? That was another one. And Black Thought did his thing verse wise on here. Another conscious theme record. It didn't have the energy of the Nas track, you know what I mean? But still did it. Black Thought did his thing, and I still like that joint. That joint is definitely dope. Um, what was the other one? Um, Yours, I'm kind of on the fence about. I'll say that's a decent track. That's a decent track. I like that record. I like Common smoked he smoked on there. He definitely did his thing on there. Slick Rick's verse was not verse, but hook was a little bit, you know what I mean? He kind of just redid his old verse from, or his old, hook from back in the 80s, which really didn't take much to do. But oh well, you had him on there. So that song was pretty good. And I would say Cabin in the Sky, I liked. And Palm of His Hands was pretty good too. I like that beat by Pete Rock as well. So overall, I like most of the tracks on here, I would say. They did a pretty good job overall, production wise and feature wise. So, what did I not like? It was a little bit slow. It lacked an energy that really I would, really want to go back to. It didn't have many bangers on here outside of maybe a few of the premiere tracks and the Nas Run It Back joint. It really lacked some energy. You know what I mean? The flows came off as kind of basic. It's kind of basic, 1 2 1 2. It's kind of that old school 90s flow. Like you're really, if you were born after 1990, you know what I mean, you're probably not going to really appreciate this album because the flows are very basic on here. Um, but and the energy is kind of down. But just to let you know, when you're dealing with conscious albums, you know what I mean, or more conscious themes albums, that's how albums like that were in that time because it was more you heard the message and the story behind the message when it came to these projects as opposed to other ones. So you're not going to get any club bangers on here. So the energy was kind of down for it. As far as tracks that I really didn't feel like that, it wasn't more so the tracks that I didn't feel because the tracks are pretty much okay, but I think they did a little bit too much with these kind of interlude tracks like Will Be with Yummy Bingham. I wasn't feeling that. That was kind of unnecessary. You know what I mean? Um, the Quick 16 from Mama, I like the message. I like the story about, um, a tribute to your mother. I think the message is very good. You know what I mean? It was a little bit slow for me. So it wasn't a bad track, you know what I mean? But it lacked a little bit of energy, I would say, but definitely a tribute to your mother. And again, on conscious themes albums like this is what, is really the bread and butter of these projects, the theme, the message behind that. And I think they did a very good job with that. So that track wasn't bad, you know what I mean? It's pretty much okay. Sometimes just how it is just kind of okay to me. Really didn't do anything for me. Um, what was another one on here that I really wasn't feeling like that? Oh yeah, Day in the Sun. I was kind of disappointed by that Q-Tip feature. I was a little bit disappointed by that. That was just okay. Q-Tip ain't like a rah rah guy, but it was just a little bit too like happy go lucky or whatever. Um, it would have been better if they went right from Cruel Summers right to Run It Back, but that was just okay. And the last track, oh yeah, Believe Him, which was more a spiritual themed song. Uh that was just okay, but I don't think it fit the tone of the album. You know what I mean? I get the whole gospel rap thing. I get the whole theme about having like a spiritual uh, record on there, but it kind of was out of place a little bit. Um, and I would say the last one, Don't Push Me, was just okay. You know what I mean? So there wasn't anything that was whack on here. I would say more so it's just certain things were overdone. I would I would say more so. It's more they had maybe too many songs on here. That's another thing. Like I really wasn't feeling the length of it. They could have cut this down to 15 songs and it might have been, close to classic, you know. It definitely would have been, an A-lister if it would have only be like maybe 15 songs as opposed to 20. And they had too many of interludes and in between type of records that I'm not really big on the skits and interludes and all of that unless you're really telling a great story. I mean, it's hard to pull that off. I mean, the album that comes to mind, who's a master at doing that, is Kendrick Lamar with, To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City. But if you don't pull that off the right way and you're not glued in, it could take away from the album. And it's like, you're just like, all right, come on, just get to the next track already, So that's kind of how that is. So let's do our breakdown. Okay, lyrics. Where do I grade the lyrics on this? I'm gonna go with a solid 8 out of 10. The bars aren't gonna blow you away. There's not a lot of triple entendres or double meaning or secondary meanings, and it's pretty straightforward, but it's good. It's good storytelling, it's good visualization, it's good it's good lyrics. It's good lyrics. The lyrics are definitely solid. So I'm gonna go with an 8 out of 10 on that. Production, I'm gonna go with an 8.5. I like how it's put together, even though the production was there weren't a lot of bangers on here. DJ Premier came with some beats on here that I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. And it gives you a little bit of something to look forward to and an appetizer for the type of beats maybe he's going to use on a Nas project. Pete Rock did the same. Pete Rock did this thing on here production wise. So overall, I think the productions fit the theme of the album, the tone of the album, even though there weren't many bangers, and the sound quality was pretty good. So I probably go with an 8.5 out of that. Flows and energy, again, that's kind of basic to me. I would go with maybe a 6 to a 7, maybe a 6.5. They're not going to wow you with any, different type of flows or a different type of mic presence on here that really makes things stand out. It's kind of, Pod the News has pretty much a monotone flow, So I really don't think the flows stand out like that. So I'll go a 6.5 out of 10. Features, I would probably go with a solid 8. Yeah, I would probably go 7.5 to an 8. I love the Nas feature. I like the Common feature. I like the Black Thought feature. Some of the other artists that are on there featured was pretty good. Some of the others, like Yummy Bingham, really didn't bring nothing to it. The Killer Mike feature was cool, but not great. I was disappointed with the Q-Tip feature. And they had too many like Jay Farrow people on there. I really don't care about that. They just had a lot of guys on here that really didn't need to be on here, like extra filler guys for certain features. The Bilal feature was okay, didn't stand out. So I say features more, even though I said I like the features, I probably like certain features more than others. Probably like a 7.5 more so than an 8 when you really chalk it up. More 7.5. So replay value, And I'll just keep it a buck. This did not have the energy that I would revisit this album much. Probably get the replay value like around a 6. I might listen to this maybe for a month. I don't know. Uh, but I don't think it's something that I want to go back to as one of my top 5 projects, this year. So I would say replay value probably about a 6. You know what I mean? Came off as kind of slow. I would say overall. So overall rating, where are we going to go? I'm gonna go with I would probably say a cool 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a dope project. I like some of the songs on here. I like some of the features on here. It's a good hip hop album. I don't think it has the replay value of calling it great. If you're a fan of that nostalgic, raucous era type feel, you would definitely like this album. I was a fan of that era, so I do like this album. If you're a fan of the DJ High Tech, Black Star wave, the raucous wave of the late 90s, early 2000s, you definitely feel this album. But as far as energy, some of the features I'm not going to say it was over. Well, maybe it's a little bit overdone. You know what I mean? But De La albums are kind of like that. De La albums are kind of like a story. It's kind of like reading a book. You know what I mean? De La albums are more like reading a book, while other albums maybe like watching a movie or a TV show. You know what I mean? Like To Pimp a Butterfly felt more like a movie. You know what I mean? But this feel like you're more reading a book. And it was a little bit slow, but I'm not taking nothing away. It's good, strong hip hop. It's good raps, good beats. You know what I mean? Dope stories and dope themes, like shit like you're gonna want to hear. And it's good hip hop, and you can't take nothing away about that. But as far as it being album of the year, that I don't know. I can't see it coming into my top 5 album discussion. Like, I could see this being a top 10 project, though. I could definitely see it being a top 10 project, but top 3 project, a top 5 project, I don't know. We're gonna probably do a record report. I'm gonna bring on BLG, aka Bootleg Gang, and we're gonna talk about it this week about some of the new projects that came out. So I don't know if I would go so far as album of the year in, but I don't know. It could grow on me. You know what I mean? I could be convinced otherwise. But right now, I mean, nothing, and I mean nothing is topping Let God Sort Them Out. That is a certified classic of certified classics. That's arguably the best record of this decade. And then the tier below that, you got the Alfredo 2s, you got um uh An Emperor's Clothing. If I probably messed up the name of that album again, but Raekwon's project. You got Infinite. You got some of the Dave East projects, which I really like. You know what I mean? So that's all in the discussion. You know what I mean? I got the Wale project, which I really like that. And I think this and the Wale album is a little bit of a debate. You know what I mean? Because they're kind of similar in that the energy on there is not that of club bangers or street bangers or really hard cutting street themes. They're probably both emo story type albums where it's the raps are more about matter of fact conversation more so than really a hard hitting album that's going to get you pumped up. So overall, I'm gonna go with a 7.5 out of 10. I don't know. Maybe it might have some room to grow. Maybe I might get to an 8. I'm saying right now it's honorable mention to top 10 worthy project of this year. But again, another strong thumbs up for the Seven Legends series, which the finale is coming. You know, Nas and DJ Premier, which I believe the album title is Light Years. So definitely check out. Stay tuned for that. I'm gonna try and get a preview for that album. I heard a short snippet of maybe one of the cuts off of there, maybe the intro cut, and it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. It definitely does. That beat really got you going for some real hip hop. Like I really, really dig that. So we're gonna talk about that more in the next week or so about that. But De La Soul, Cabin in the Sky. I'm gonna go with a solid 7.5 out of 10 for now. I could see it moving up maybe to an 8. I'm probably gonna debate this later with BLG, aka Bootleg Gang, my homie Lance, to really talk about this. But right now, I'm going with a 7.5 out of 10. It's probably on the back end of my top 10 right now. I might have to go 15 deep this year because this was a really good year for hip hop, and we got a lot of hip hop coming up. Conway the Machine, Nas and DJ Premier are coming up. Somebody else is dropping too. It's interesting. There's a Gangsta Grills tape that either dropped or is dropping next week. I don't know if I'm too thrilled of listening to that, but DJ Drama Gangsta Grills projects rarely disappoint. So I don't know. We'll see about that. So a lot of interesting hip hop to come up next couple of weeks. A lot to talk about. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday night. I'm gonna link up. Like I told you, I want to link up with BLG, aka Bootleg Gang. We're gonna talk some albums. We're gonna talk about our top 5, where we're looking at going into the last month of the year. Probably gonna be our last top 5 record report right before our end of the year awards, which are probably gonna be around like first week of January or so. Once the year closes out, we're gonna do album of the year, artist of the year. And we're going to bring the fellas on. We're going to bring Torture Talk. We're going to bring BLG, aka Bootleg Gang, on. And we're going to chop it up as to our top performers and top projects of the year. But I get ahead of myself. Let's get back to this Cabin in the Sky. De La Soul, Cabin in the Sky. Definite 7.5 out of 10. Maybe some room to improve on that. I'll see how it goes. And definitely check that out. It's a great year for hip hop, great year for legacy hip hop. 7 Legends series definitely delivered, and this is one of them. So definitely check this out. De La Soul, Cabin in the Sky. I'm going with a strong 7.5 out of 10. So with that, enjoy the rest of y'all evening, and I'll catch up with y'all soon. All right, peace.